Hi, Year 8, another week's video going through lessons for this week. You might notice something new behind me. I've put up a notice board, a blackboard behind me. Don't worry, I'm not going to be doing any live teaching on it. But if you do get bored and you want to look through my meals for the week, then feel free. So, like always, all of your work is accessible on Microsoft Teams. You're going to go to your Teams page. You're going to click on History Year 8. A couple of ways you can do it. You can either just simply click on View Assignment here. This is this week's assignment, week 3, assignment 5 and 6, summer term. I put them both together this week because I had some feedback from some people saying that it was difficult when you had two different things, and this makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so you can go ahead and click on View Assignment, or you can click on Assignments at the top, which shows you all of your assignments. And this is the latest one here at the bottom. Week 3, assignment 5 and 6, summer term. So go ahead and click on that. You can then go, yours should look like this, and you can read through all the instructions for this week. Please do that because there are quite a lot. You need to watch a video in this lesson, and you need to use a website database called England's Immigrants. It's about medieval migrants to the UK. And also then at the bottom, there's those videos about how you should be using Microsoft Teams, uploading things, etc. But just go ahead and click on the assignment. And then as always, you're going to click on Edit Document. There's a couple of options. You can edit in desktop app. That means you're going to do it on your own laptop, then upload it afterwards, follow the video. You can print it off, do it at home, whichever way you're doing it, doesn't matter. But definitely the easiest is edit in browser. It will move things around, which is annoying, I know, but just deal with it. It's not that big an issue. And also, I think I've probably actually minimized this a bit now by putting things as photos and things like that. So the first thing that you are going to do is complete the Quizlet task. Pause the video here, complete those tasks now. Okay, so the first claim of Enoch Powell, you should know that, but it was that Britain had been unaffected, unchanged by the Empire. How many migrants arrived on the Empire Windrush and where did they come from? Well, they came from Jamaica, came from the Caribbean. And if you go back and do the reading from previous lessons, you'll be able to find the answer to the first question. And let's just put these events in order. So Georgian Britain or industrial Britain, well, the Georgians, those kings called George, ruled England from 1714 until the 1830s, 1833, I think George IV died. Victorian Britain is from 1837 to 1901. If you're wondering who was king in between, it was a man called William. Modern Britain, well, that's from 1901 to today, roughly. Stuart Britain, from 1603 until roughly 1714, and Tudor England from 1485 until 1603. Okay, those events in order. The Great Famine of Bengal was in 1770. The transatlantic slave trade, well, that happens really from the mid-16th century, so from sort of 1550 until really the 1830s, 1840s. But of course, in Britain, it ends with the abolition of the slave trade in 1807. And the American War of Independence is from 1775 until 1783. Okay, once you have done that, you need to move on to the task underneath. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is study sources A to D, those pictures there that you can see on my screen right now, and list anything that you find interesting or surprising. Now, all of these photographs were taken during either World War I or World War II, and all of them were taken in Britain or in France, where lots of the fighting was happening in World War I and obviously later World War II. So they're all from World War I and World War II. All of these photographs were taken in Britain or France. So what do you find interesting or surprising? You're going to type here underneath. Pause the video here. It should take you about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Complete the task now. Okay, once you have done that, you're going to move on to the next page. Now, I'm giving you lots of information here, but it's important because this information is going to help us to understand how much Britain was or was not changed by the empire during World War I and World War II. And to help us understand that, we're going to look at some statistics, some facts and figures about how many people from what countries in the empire fought for Britain during World War II. And to be clear, most of, not all of, but most of these people or these figures, they fought in the major battles in World War I, be that in the Western Front, which were the battles happening in France and Belgium, be that in Arabia, the battles that were happening in North Africa and the Middle East, or in Gallipoli in Turkey, in a major battle that happened there in 1915, I think. So what I need you to do is look at these stats and figures, these amount of people who fought for Britain from different parts of the empire in both world wars, and then complete the tasks underneath. Using a calculator, add up how many people from the empire were involved in each war, and fill in the bottom row here, where it says type here, of the table. 2, which country or countries contributed the most of the 2 world wars? 3, do you find this evidence surprising or interesting? Why? And 4, could Britain have won World War I or World War II without the support of people from the British Empire? And you must explain your answer using evidence from the table in your answer. So, for example, you might say, no, they could not have won the war without the support of the empire, because if I look at this table, well, 1.3 million Indian people fought in World War I and 2.5 million people in World War II, for example. And if you finish all of that, there are 2 challenge tasks underneath that you need to get on with. This should take you a while. It should take you about 10 minutes at least to analyze the table and answer all those questions. Complete this task now. Pause the video. Okay, so I've gone and done some sums as well. Looking at question 1, how many people from the empire were involved in each war? Well, in total, it's 8,370,794. I've not done it individually for each world war. You can do that yourselves, but clearly across both, it is a huge number. If you look at World War I, for example, it's only just under half of the total, or not far under half, of the total troops that fought for Britain were from the empire. Which country or countries contributed the most? And well, the country that contributed the most across the 2 world wars was India, which now obviously is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Burma. But obviously, if you look at the statistics, well, Canada and Newfoundland and Australia also contributed huge numbers. Do you find this evidence surprising or interesting? Well, you need to answer that yourself. Could Britain have won World War I and World War II without the support of people from the British Empire? Personally, I think no. When you look at these statistics, the hard facts, the history tells us that it would be quite difficult. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you answer those questions, and do have a go at the challenge questions underneath, especially the one about Enoch Powell's claims that Britain was unaltered, unchanged by the empire. In light of this information, I find that tricky to agree with. Once you've done that, the next task is to watch a video. So you need to click on the link, and to do that, if you hold down Control, the button that says CTRL, why is it not doing it? That's strange. No, it's not going to do it for me, but it's easy to do anyway. Oh no, it has done it. It has done it. Yeah, so if you hold down Control, CTRL, and click on it, it will open it, and this is the video you're going to watch, World War I Uncut and World of the Trenches, and you're going to see David Olusegun in a second. There he is.
It can be hard to shake off.
And he's going to tell you all about, well, I've stopped him at an unfortunate point there. That's not any better. He's going to tell you all about how people of different nationalities fought in World War I, in particular in the trenches, what we think of as the typical story of World War I, on the Somme, in Ypres, in Passchendaele, in the core kind of most famous battles from World War I that took place in France and Belgium from 1914 to 1918. So you're going to go ahead and watch that video. And whilst you're doing that, you need to answer those questions. Pause the video here, complete that task now. Okay, now once you've done that, we've done this a number of times now, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. You're going to reread Enoch Powell's claim. Remember, he's saying the British Empire did not change England or Britain. You're going to list some evidence from this lesson so far that might go against what Enoch Powell is claiming. Then you're going to circle a number underneath to show at the moment, sorry, you're not going to circle, you're going to type where it says type here, to show at the moment how far you agree, 10, or disagree, 0 with Enoch Powell. Complete all those tasks now, and then read the information below. You've read it before, it's just a recap of what we read in lesson 1. So to do all of that, it should take you at least 6 minutes. Pause the video here, complete that task or those tasks now. Okay, now once you've done that, we're going to get some more information from an extract I've given you from David Olusoga, that historian we keep on talking about. You just heard from him in the video. Now, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail because you know how these extracts work and you know that you can do them. Loads of you, everyone has been able to read these when we've done them in lessons. And I've been hugely impressed at how engaged people have been with reading historians. So I decided I was going to give you much more opportunities to read real stuff from real historians. And that's what this is. If you're stuck at all, look at the boxes where I'm asking you questions because I give you an overview of what he's talking about in each paragraph. There are particular words you might find tricky. Again, I've given you things around the outside, definitions, pictures and stuff that will, umbilical cord here, that will help you to understand those things. But as you are going, you need to answer the questions on the sheet. Now, you can't do that on the sheet like we normally would. So I've given you a blank page. On the next page, I'm going to write type here, actually, so you know where you're going to type your answers, okay? Should take you 10 minutes to do that task. Pause the video here, do it now. Okay, now the last thing that you're going to do in this lesson is just recap Enoch Powell's claim again. Again, just in case you missed it, we've gone through it about 20 times. Enoch Powell is claiming that the British Empire did not change England or Britain at all. Britain remained unchanged, unaltered by the Empire. What new evidence from this lesson or what you've just read from David Olusoga might go against Enoch Powell? Make a list where it says type here. And then one last time on this claim, pick a number from 0 to 10. 10 means you 100% agree with Enoch Powell. 0 means you 100% disagree. Type your number where it says, oh, something's gone strange. Where it says type number here. Type the word where it says type word here, because you're going to pick a word from this list. And then you're going to explain underneath why you think that, where again it says type here. Okay? Simple. Pause the video here, complete those tasks now. Think about it tomorrow. Okay, we're on to lesson 5 now, the second lesson for this week. And we're going to look at what England was like before the Empire. So unfortunately, this has moved things around again, which is a little bit annoying, but this is your timeline, which should be here. There we go, that's better. You know how to do these quizzes now. You're going to answer all of these questions. I'm not going to go through this one because you should be able to do it. I'll tell a lie, I will go through it. Pause the video here, complete these tasks now. Okay, so you could have cheated here because his second claim is actually below here. But Enoch Powell's second claim basically is that Britain in the 1960s and British people could return to what life was like before the empire existed. They could revert to the people they were before the ships of the Elizabethans and the Stuarts sailed out into the empire. So the obvious question here for me, and that's what we're going to explore really in this lesson, is what was England like before the Empire? Because Enoch Powell seems to be suggesting that England was an exclusively white place. There were no people of colour. There were no people of different backgrounds. They were all Anglo-Saxon white people. So really, we're going to test that and see if that's true in this lesson. 2, what famous battle happened in 1066? Well, you should all know that. It's the Battle of Hastings. And the name of this period of history is the medieval period. Putting those timelines in order, Anglo-Saxon England is roughly 440 until 1066. Medieval in England then 1066 to 1485. Roman Britain, roughly 40 AD ish until about 400, 440 AD, 200 AD, 200 AD. Ignore me. Tudor England then is from 1485 until 1603. Okay, putting those events in order, World War I, 1914 to 1918. Enoch Powell's 2 speeches were in the 1960s. Empire Windrush sails into Britain in 1948. And the Indian Mutiny is in 1857. Apologies if you can hear the ice cream van in the background. So here is Enoch Powell's claim again that we just went through. If you're not sure, read it. And then just to reinforce this, I want you to select the image below that best shows what you think Enoch Powell believed pre-colonial, that means before the Empire, England was like. So select the image where it says type image number underneath that you think best shows Enoch Powell's England before the Empire. Should only take you a minute, if that. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, hopefully you've worked this out, but just to double check, the correct answer is 1. So where it says type image number here, you should have typed 1 here. So, next job. I think we might know some time periods that already this is not completely true in, i.e. where it was not an exclusively white place, Britain. Out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 time periods below, which do you currently think we know are definitely, if this wasn't true? And you're going to type it underneath. So if you thought it was Georgian Britain, for example, you would type Georgian Britain there. Okay? Should only take you a minute again. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, so you should have the answers. Georgian Britain was the first one, and the second one is Tudor England, because we know that there were, not exclusively, there were other ethnic groups as well, but were significant communities of Black Tudors and Black Georgians, as we've seen from Dr. Miranda Kaufman's work and Dr. David Olashuga's work. So, as it says on the next page, the next few lessons, we're going to go back further in time, before the Tudors, because we know that in Tudor England and Georgian England, Enoch Powell's idea isn't true. But maybe he was right further back, maybe. So we're going to go further back in time to find out what England was like before the Empire. And this will help us to test Enoch Powell's second claim. Today we'll start with medieval England. Next lesson we'll go back further in time again and uncover what Dark Ages England. And then in the final lesson, what Roman England were like. So if you like, we're going in kind of reverse chronological order. We're starting with the most recent one, medieval England. Then we go back to the Dark Ages, that's the Anglo-Saxon times. And then we go back further again to the Romans and Roman Britain. Okay? If you want more information on that, here is a plan of what our next 5 lessons will look like. Okay? Pause the video here if you want to read that. Okay, so looking at box 4 from today's Quizit, you need to make sure that you know the chronological order of Romans, Anglo-Saxon and medieval period. But that is the order it's in. Roman earliest, Anglo-Saxon in the middle, medieval then from 1066 to 1485. Okay? So we can move on to the next job. Now, this is one of my own photographs, actually. It's a photo of a house which I saw when I went to visit Lincoln Castle with my brother. And I found it quite bizarre and quite strange. As you'll see, if you look at it, this is the Jew house in Lincoln, which seems a bit weird and not something you'd expect to see in modern day. So I thought I'd look into it. So we're going to use it in a lesson because I think it's interesting. So I need you, please, to look at this picture and then answer questions 1 to 4. Remember, on the inference question, you're going to start your sentence, I can infer. Pause the video here, complete those tasks now. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to read the information below about why this house, why this place exists. It tells you about the Jewish communities that lived and migrated into England, most of them non-British or non-English people during medieval times. So read that information underneath, thanks. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, once you've done that, in the table underneath, you're going to record some information about what you've just read above, about evidence of Jewish migrants living in medieval England at this time. So, for example, you might write Belisset, daughter of Solomon of Wallingford, is recorded living in the Jew house, for example. And then what can I infer? Well, there was a rich Jewish community in Lincoln because that was an expensive house, for example. Okay? So simple. That's all you're going to do. Just record information from this text above. 2-3 minute job. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, once you have done that, you're going to need to, for the rest of the lesson really, do some research. And you're going to go to this website, remember, control and click it. You're going to go to this website called englandsimmigrants.com. It's a great resource. It's a free database of people who migrated to England during medieval times after about 1300. Now, if you look at this database, you're going to need to follow these instructions. So you're going to click on the empty search bar that says quick search, and you're just going to type in, oh, it's already done it for me because I've done it before, and you're just going to type in the word Jewish and then hit search. And you should find that it only comes up with one record, which is a little bit strange. So you would type your answer here. How many records does it come up with? 1. Then to access this record, this is a real person, by the way, who really did live in medieval England. And you're going to click on full record, and then you'll see it's going to give you loads of information. He's Jude. His surname is Jude. His forename's Simon. His gender is male. He lived in London. That means what place of residence means. Taxation status, well, that means he didn't own his house, etc., etc. So you're just going to go ahead and record some of this information here. What's his name? What's his place of residence? If you then look at the biographical notes, it gives you any interesting information that we know about this person. Thrupp identifies him as Jewish. Thrupp is the author of this book. Aliens, that means migrants, in and around London in the 15th century, for example. So he's living in London in 1444, just before the late medieval, just before the Tudor age really begins in 1485. So you're going to go ahead and record that information. And if you finish, think about that challenge question. Why is there only one record of Jewish migrants from 1330 to 1550? Pause the video here, complete all those tasks now. The answer I've given you, it lies in that text underneath. Read the text about the expulsion of the Jews. That means Jewish people being pushed, forced out of Britain, and why that happened in 1290. Read the text below. Pause the video, do that now. Okay, so clearly the expulsion of Jews in 1290 is not only quite shocking, very violent, and a bit of a blot, really, on British history, but also helps us to explain why after 1290 there are only one record that we can find, may well have been more, but there's only one record we can find of a Jewish person living in Britain. But that doesn't mean that there were no migrants in Britain. We're going to continue to test Enoch Powell's claim here to just work out just how British, just how white Anglo-Saxon was England before the Empire. You're going to go back to the England's immigrants website, and it is easier to start with a new web browser, a new version of it, because you can go back to the start. And you're going to click search. Oh, I'm going to type in. You're going to click search again. No, you're not. I tell a lie. You're not going to do anything in there. You're just going to go ahead and click on advanced search. Okay. And you'll see once you click on advanced search that you can put a lot more information here. Now, I've given you lots more, some more indications of what I'd like you to do here, some more instructions. You're going to scroll down the screen and click, don't type in anything on advanced search. You're going to scroll down and just click the search button. First thing you're going to do. That's going to give you all the records that they've got on migrants in medieval England. On the left-hand side, that means you can now see a list of different countries and cities immigrants arrive from. So if you look on here, you'll see with all of these filters that I can apply, I can look at loads of different places. So for example, these top ones, French, so people from France. Norman, that again means France. Dutch, so people from the Netherlands or Ireland. Genoa, Venice, Florence, those are all in Italy. Rouen, that's in France. These are all cities. Cologne is in Germany, and so on and so on and so on. All of these here, these are places in England, so ignore those. But clearly, there's lots of different countries here. If you go on to the next instruction, it tells you to look at each of these countries. So I would click on France, for example, French. Oops. In fact, you don't even need to click on it because the question is how many arrive from France? How many arrive from the Netherlands? Dutch. How many arrive from Genoa, Venice, and Florence? So you're just going to look at the numbers here and you can see France, 4,568. So I would just type here next to France, 4,568. Okay, simple. So you can complete now the questions down to question E, and then you can go ahead and follow the remaining instructions where you're looking for this particular man, John Andrew, with an extra E on the end, and you're going to look at him in particular, write down his name, place of origin, place of residence, and occupation, etc. If you finish all of that, move on to the challenge question underneath. Should take you about 10 minutes. Pause the video here, complete that task now. So just in case you struggle to find it, I'm on now that record of John Andrew from Genoa. I'm going to leave it on the screen so you can complete that task if you've got stuck. So you can see we can find out quite a lot from these things, really. He's definitely from Genoa. He's Italian. He's a merchant. That means he buys and sells things. He owns his house. He's a householder. He's clearly a rich man. He paid 40 shillings in tax. That's quite a lot of money. He was well off as a migrant living in the UK. Once you've done that, you're going to skip ahead to question 7. As it says, just click the back arrow to come out of this and go back to all the records on Genoa. And click on just some of the other records. And you're going to access them by clicking full record. You're just going to look at as many of them as you can. There's loads. And once you've done that, for each one in the table on the next page, we're just going to record their name, the place of origin, so it would be Genoa. You can go and have a look at some other countries if you want to too, by clicking on the side here at different countries or places like Venice and Florence in Italy. You're going to record their occupation as well, their job. So pause the video here, spend about 10 minutes now recording different people who migrated from Genoa or elsewhere. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, so we're going to bring all of this together now. Here's Enoch Powell's second claim again. The English can return to being the people we were before the ships of Elizabethan and Stuart England set off to forge the first British Empire in the Americas. Again, select the image which best shows what Enoch Powell believed pre-colonial, before the empire, England was like. And you're just going to type that, where it says type number here. 30 seconds to do that. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, hopefully you should have typed the number 1. But our question, of course, is this true? Well, clearly we haven't explored different ethnicities yet. We've not necessarily seen any people of Asian or African origin in our research into migrants. So maybe haven't covered off that question. But Enoch Powell, his claim was that people were British. They were Anglo-Saxons exclusively. Is that true based on what we've done today? What evidence might go against Enoch Powell? And then finally, like we've done many times now, how far do you agree with Enoch Powell's claim? 10, completely agree. 0, you completely disagree. Type your number where it says type number here. Select a word which best sums up what you think. Type that word where it says type word here. And then underneath, explain why you circled that number, and you must use the word that you circled. That's it for this week. That was a bit of an epic video. I'm getting a sore throat. I'll speak to you next week.